In this world, there's one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say? Easy for you to say they don't love you. It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos. And this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What's up, everybody? Happy and merry. Terrific Sports Tuesday to you and yours. This is You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports, as we bring you the fastest show in all of sports. The show presented today and always by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. And on this Tuesday morning, hope springs eternal in the world of sports, and we are going to get to all the big stories, including the NBA megastar that should be demanding a trade off of his team, why all eyes in Major League Baseball continue to be fixated on Detroit, Michigan, and the single most pathetic thing, and there are a lot of them, the single most pathetic thing about Bill Belichick's North Carolina Tar Heels. And it is pathetic, and it's not what you're expecting. Our bets for tonight will close the show. I'll just tell you right now, I'm betting the Orioles again, fading the Detroit Tigers on Tarek Skubal watch. I expect them to trade Tarek Skubal. I think they're going to lose again today to the Baltimore Orioles. Had a winner last night. We'll look to keep it rolling coming up today on this Tuesday. The phone number, 310-840-4910. YouTube.com/@thekostos, TheKostos. You can follow me, your boy, Nick Kostos, on all social platforms @thekostos. But we officially begin the terrific Football Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet in celebration. Today, we celebrate because today, across this great country of ours, 32 out of 32 NFL teams will be practicing. 32 teams reporting for training camp as of this morning. If I can paraphrase Dumb and Dumber for a moment as it concerns football season, we're there, man. 9 days away from the Hall of Fame game next Thursday with the Cardinals and the Panthers. 16 days away from what is in earnest Week 1 of the preseason. A huge slate, that opening Thursday night, 2 weeks from this Thursday, 16 days away. And we are less than 50 days away from the official start of the 2026 NFL regular season. What a time to be alive. Now I'm going to be really candid and honest with everybody. I have not yet fully formed my opinions on all 32 teams, on all 8 divisions. I don't know yet who I'm picking to play on Championship Sunday in each conference. I don't know who I'm going to be betting on to make the Super Bowl and win the Super Bowl. I have an idea of what I want to do. I have some teams that I'm percolating on, teams I'm thinking about. The San Francisco 49ers are a team I've been discussing all offseason. But I don't have those fully formed opinions as of yet. Most teams haven't even had one training camp practice. We've had no preseason games. Unfortunately, injuries are a big part of this, and we don't know who's going to get hurt in between now and the start of the regular season. And also, it's only July. And we're going to have to save a lot of this for the grand old month of August. And obviously, all the predictions will be finalized as we head into the start of the season at the beginning of September. But with all of that said, like, I may not have the strongest opinion right now on, let's say, will the Washington Commanders go over or under their win total? I have an idea of what I want to do, but I wouldn't describe it as the strongest feeling that I have about that team. The Indianapolis Colts are a mystery to me as of right now. Daniel Jones is apparently going to be practicing soon, coming off, the Achilles injury at the end of last year. Is he going to be playing in week 1 for Indy when they host the Baltimore Ravens, 3.5-point home dogs in that game? How's he going to look coming up in training camp? And if he looks good, I think Shane Steichen's a great coach. I like the talent on offense and defense for Indianapolis. Can they be a surprise team? Now, I just use Indianapolis as an example, right? I don't know how the Colts are going to be this year. And there are certain teams that fall under that umbrella where I'm not 100% sure yet what I want to do with them. But there are teams, there are divisions that I do feel pretty confident in. And barring significant injury to the principal players on these teams, barring horrendous preseason performances or the vibes being really bad or something unexpected happening, I don't see myself changing opinions, strong opinions, on a bunch of teams. Now, this is positive stuff, teams I really like this year, and the betting market likes some of these teams too. This will just be me saying I either agree with the betting market, I agree with consensus, or I'm even higher than consensus, or I think more highly of them than the betting market does. There are teams that I feel terrible about, conversely. And some of them, the betting market doesn't like them, and I like them even less. And some of them, the betting market and people like quite a bit. And I just can't get there. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why. So I've picked a couple teams here, as today basically marks the official start of the 2026 NFL season. All training camps open today. I've picked a couple teams that I really like and a couple teams that I really do not like. So let's chop it up and let's get ready for some football. And we can begin the teams that I like in the AFC East. Now, here's my question for everybody. And I want Tyler Morales on our show crew to listen, because Tyler went to the Neo Akon concert this weekend. I was not there. I'm a family man at this point in my life. Well, apparently, Tyler was puking outside a bar after the Neo Akon concert. Tyler's like 32 years old at this point. Tyler should not be puking outside the bar. And my sense is, even though I didn't talk to Tyler about his potential hangover the next day, Tyler probably had a hangover. And look, we've all been there. I've been there more times than I'd care to admit. My 20s and early 30s were basically spent in a drunken stupor in a smoke-filled room. So I certainly understand this. And man, when you got a bad hangover, that bleep sucks. Sucks. It's horrible. And we all try to fight it. We all try to combat the hangover. We all have things that, now for me, it was just like lay in bed with my eyes closed until I felt better. Not the best method, and I can admit that. Some people will drink a Gatorade at the end of the night before they go to bed. Others will chug Pedialyte. I think we now have this Gen Z thing, meaning that I don't think my age group ever did this, where they will actually have an IV, at night or the next morning, and it helps them feel better. God bless. We are all looking to avoid the hangover because hangovers suck. I do not think that this year, the New England Patriots, the reigning, defending American Football Conference, better known to you and yours as the AFC, the reigning AFC champion New England Patriots, I don't think they need a yellow Gatorade. I don't think they need the Pedialyte. I don't think they need the IV. Maybe they've been out drinking all night. Maybe they've been at the bar until 2:30 in the morning. Maybe Diana Rossini was there as well. Doesn't matter. The New England Patriots will not be struck by the Super Bowl hangover. And the reason why I know that to be true, and the reason why I really like the Patriots this year, and to be fair, like the betting market does as well, plus 850 to go back-to-back and win the AFC for a second straight year, plus 145 to win the AFC East, and of course, all numbers courtesy of our show sponsor, BetMGM. They're the second choice to win the division. Buffalo, the favorite, at minus 150. They're a minus 185 price to make the playoffs. Betting market says New England will return to the postseason. And a win total of basically 10. So bettors expect the Patriots to not really get hit by the Super Bowl hangover, based on the numbers that I just gave you. I feel even more confident than that. And I've been percolating on this take and on this opinion. And I'd like to offer briefly a tip of the cap to our friend, the whale capper Drew Dinsick from NBC Sports and the Deep Dive podcast, one of the betting analysts in the sports media that I trust and respect the most. And Drew came on the show last week and kind of waxed poetic about the Patriots and his positive outlook on New England this year. And I texted with Drew a little bit afterwards, and it was an opinion that I've had as well. And hearing him so bullish in it, and this is not me blaming him if it doesn't go the way I expect it to, like, I'll put my name on it. I don't see a hangover for this team this season. I think they can absolutely win the AFC East, not the Buffalo Bills. And I think that right now, and I don't think Buffalo's going to be bad. So please don't, this is not like New England's good, Buffalo's bad. I think they're both really good. Just that, for as much optimism as I might have about Buffalo now with the new head coach in Joe Brady, there's still some unknown there, right? With Joe Brady now stepping into the head role as the head coach, and Jim Leonard now calling the plays defensively. Now, I think it's going to go well for Buffalo, and I think Buffalo could absolutely be one of the final teams standing this season. But if I'm trying to accurately project this, like in my head, like I know the Patriots coaching staff is good. I know, make your jokes about Mike Vrabel, the guy's a really good head coach. We know Josh McDaniels might be the worst head coach in the history of head coaches in the National Football League, but he a damn good offensive coordinator. And now Zach Ertz, this will be his first full season calling the plays on defense for the Patriots, and he did a spectacular job last year in that role for New England. Also, the talent on the roster, the 53-man roster for New England, is undeniably better entering this season than it was last season. Now, I know what the counter to this is, right? I'm not an ostrich, right? My head's not in the sand. The Patriots had not one of, not figuratively, literally the easiest schedule in the history of the NFL last season. It was a joke, their schedule. It was a joke. It's going to be way tougher this year. And obviously it starts in the season opener on the road in Seattle where they're 3.5-point road dogs. So it's going to be more difficult. I know that. Also, though, the team is better. And lest we forget, and yes, some of it is due to the fact that the schedule was easy, and obviously when they stepped up in class, come playoff time, Drake May didn't play as well. I get it. You could say that about a lot of quarterbacks, though. Have to play that Houston Texans swarm. Like, think about the defenses that New England played in the final 3 rounds of the postseason. Houston, Denver, and Seattle. No one should or would be surprised if we finished this season and one of those 3 defenses was the number 1 defense in the NFL. Now, I'm not making excuses for some of Drake May's poor play in those games. Like, he needs to be better. He absolutely needs to be better in those spots. But I think, like, if we're going to say that they fattened up on an easy schedule early in the year, then I think we can legitimately not totally dismiss or totally hand wave it away, but I think there's reason why Drake May probably struggled a little bit in those games. Rumors that he's not fully healthy, obviously dealing with a shoulder injury. Will Campbell's a train wreck at left tackle. Well, what did the Patriots do this offseason? Here's Caleb Lomu in the first round, left tackle out of Utah. Now, I don't know if he's going to start immediately. Maybe Will Campbell begins the season at left tackle. Lomu's a swing. We'll see how it goes. My sense is, I can be wrong, I think I'm right, is that at some point this year, Will Campbell kicks inside and Lomu takes over at left tackle. That's my expectation. And people said before the Patriots took Will Campbell 4th overall in last year's draft that he projects more as a guard, an interior lineman, than a left tackle. So maybe that just makes the Patriots' offensive line better right away. I think it probably will, if and when it happens this year. How about A.J. Brown joining the team. And A.J. Brown right now is like a guy that just got out of a toxic relationship. And the implication here is not that like Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni in Philly, that they like did anything to cause this. I've talked about it a lot this offseason, right, as it concerns A.J. Brown in Philly. It doesn't seem like A.J. Brown's a bad guy or Jalen Hurts is a bad guy or that anything significant happened here despite rumors to the contrary. It's all rumors. It's all scuttlebutt. It's all noise. Based on what those two guys actually say out loud, there's no like tremendous beef, friends that drifted apart. And the offense was clearly and obviously broken last year with Kevin Patullo, and Jalen Hurts plays a role in that as well, and A.J. Brown also played a role in it. A.J. Brown got ripped by Mike Vrabel after the first Patriots practice. After the first practice, remember, Patriots opened a little early because they play in the season opener, right? Before other teams play, right? On Friday. First play of training camp, Drake May rips a pass to A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown drops it. Drake May said after that practice, I'm trying to make a statement on the first play. Mike Vrabel rips A.J. Brown in front of the team. Now, if Nick Sirianni had done that, A.J. Brown probably would have, posted something to the media on Instagram like speak softly and carry a knife. Or something really cryptic, right? That had everybody guessing like this is, the Batman movie or some detective movie. Nah. In Foxborough, A.J. Brown's like, yeah, I get it. I understand what Coach Vrabel's trying to do. And he's got a 1,000-watt smile on his face. He looks like he just broke out of Shawshank. He's going to have a huge year this year for the Patriots. Also, here's Romeo Doubs. And look, I think Stephon Diggs still has it to a degree, at least on the field. Romeo Doubs is better at this point than Stephon Diggs is. Not for the balance of their careers, so listen to what I'm saying. I don't know if Romeo Doubs will ever be as good at his best as Stephon Diggs has been at his best. But at this point, on the trajectory of their careers, with Steph Diggs clearly on the back nine, probably on the final hole or two, let that one hang for a second. Romeo Doubs is definitely better. They're better. The Patriots are better. Here's Kevin Byard on defense. Anyone watch Kevin Byard last year? I think they're going to be awesome. Drake May was almost won MVP of the league. There's no way you could convince me. I don't know how many people are saying this, but Drake May does not stink. Drake May is not overrated. Drake May is on the cusp of absolute mega and superstardom. Mega and superstardom. Stud young quarterback. An offensive line that I expect to be better, and I love the signing of Elijah Vera-Tucker, the former Jet. Obviously, the questions surrounding him are about health, and they are well-founded questions, and maybe he can't stay healthy, which he's pretty much been unable to do in his time since being made a first-round pick by the Jets. Man, if he stays healthy, this line going to kick ass. Has the potential to be really good, especially if Will Campbell can figure it out and cannot be a turnstile at left tackle. This line has a chance to be really good. A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, like an embarrassment of riches at receiver. Like Kayshon Boutte almost got traded 15 times this offseason. All he does is make big plays down the field. Read the training camp reports. I do, because I love this stuff. He's been great at camp. Mike Vrabel can't stop praising Kayshon Boutte. Involved in all these trade rumors, never lets it get to him. That's good stuff from Kayshon. Boutte, rocking everywhere. Shout out to Bubba Sparks. Love the coaching staff. Yes, the schedule's harder. It is. Undeniably, a lot harder. But the team's also better. No Pedialyte, no Gatorade, no IV, no Tylenol, no Advil. Really, the only thing the Patriots need is no New York Post and no TMZ. As of right now, my AFC East champion, the New England Patriots. We're just getting started here on a terrific Football Tuesday on You Better You Bet. On the other side, a couple other teams that I really, really like this season. And the one we will start with is one with a new head coach. We are on Westwood One Sports, and the show is presented by our friends at BetMGM.
4. Steelers bring 4. Highsmith is there. Jackson got away. Now reloads and throws to Flowers downfield. He's got it for a touchdown!
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
So, Matt, how are you not excited for football? That Ravens-Steelers game, Week 18, Sunday Night Football, Division Championship, how good is that? How good is it? How good is it? That game may have, although I guess if you take the word of Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti, basically he was going to fire John Harbaugh basically no matter what, whether they won that game or not, but certainly did not help John Harbaugh in his quest to remain head coach of the Baltimore Ravens. This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Get a quote today at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. Okay. I understand what you are going to say to me, or at least think in your head, since you thankfully can't talk to me while I'm talking on the air. That would be a disaster. But I know what you're going to say when I tell you I love the Baltimore Ravens this year. You will say, but Nick, everybody loves the Baltimore Ravens this year. Just look at their prices at BetMGM. They are one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl, co-favorites along with Buffalo to win the AFC, minus 115 to win the AFC North, so they're the favorite to win that division, and a win total sitting at about 11. So everybody loves Baltimore. Why do I get to say I also love the Baltimore Ravens if everybody loves Baltimore? The answer, I am tremendously confident in Jesse Minter, the Ravens' new head coach, and there's some projection needed here, right? And we all have opinions. We all put our thumb on the scale a little bit. I'm going to do it with the Dallas Cowboys this season. I'm going to put my thumb on the scale because I believe in Christian Parker and some of the talent they've brought in. And I admit that. There's some bias involved here based on my opinions. Just the same way there's bias with you and your opinions. And we're all sports fans, and we're all welcome to those opinions. My opinion, Jesse Minter is going to be an absolute monster. My opinion, I think he can be Mike McDonald 2.0. Mike McDonald 2.0. As one of the next great defensive coaches in the National Football League. I think he's a stud. I loved this hire for the Baltimore Ravens. And you know my opinion. And it was the same opinion I had about Buffalo with Sean McDermott. Baltimore with John Harbaugh. Enough was enough, and it's time for a change. Shout out to the late, great Owen Hart. Where you can't keep going to the playoffs every year with a stud, first ballot Hall of Fame quarterback and keep getting bounced before you make the Super Bowl. A change had to be made. Credit to Buffalo for doing it. Here's Joe Brady. Credit to Baltimore for doing it. Here is Jesse Minter. And I believe that Jesse Minter is going to take this Ravens defense, especially with Nnamdi Madubuike. It feels like he's going to play in week 1. Remember, he had that terrible neck injury, Monday Night Football, and the loss last year to the Lions. He's a stud interior, pass rusher, run stuffer. He is a great player. A great player. And I've talked about him a bunch this offseason as he looks to come back from the neck. He's been cleared to practice. Now, he might not practice today for Baltimore. He might not practice tomorrow. Might not be this week. Might not be next week. But he going to practice. And it feels like he's going to play week 1 on the road in Indianapolis. It is a gigantic, gigantic deal for the Baltimore Ravens. Here's Trey Hendrickson rushing the passer. Not a bad consolation prize on the whole Max Crosby brouhaha, which feels like, did that actually really happen? Remember when the Ravens traded for Max Crosby and then walked it back? Remember when that happened? And here's Trey Hendrickson. You know, Eric DeCosta, Ravens GM, said after the fact, we were trying to get Max Crosby and Trey Hendrickson. Sure you were. We don't believe you. You need more people. But Trey Hendrickson's there now. One of the best secondaries in the league. And yeah, Lamar Jackson's still the quarterback. Now, last year, not great for Lamar Jackson. Not healthy. Ravens missed the postseason. Seems unfathomable with a player of Lamar Jackson's caliber that should happen. We'll get to another team later this hour with a stud all-world quarterback that missed the postseason as well. I cannot imagine or fathom a world where Lamar Jackson and this Ravens offense struggles again this season. Especially considering I expect the offensive line to certainly be better this year than it was last year. Do you, the person watching or listening, do you respect Odyssey Sports NFL insider, ultimate football guy, Brian Baldinger? I know you do, because you love ball, and you know that Baldy knows ball. And I know that Baldy knows ball. So if we collectively know that Baldy knows ball, and Baldy tells us that Vega Iona from Penn State is the best offensive lineman in the draft, and then the Baltimore Ravens select him to anchor the interior of their offensive line, then since Baldy knows ball, we know that Baldy knows ball, and we know ball, we know that the Ravens have improved their offensive line. And here's Ethan Pochich coming over at center just a couple days ago. They've got their center now. They've got their center. Derrick Henry still in the backfield. And maybe this is the year he falls off, but then again, maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Maybe we keep predicting this to happen every year, and maybe it never happens. And by the second maybe, I mean definitely, because it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. The Ravens' fortunes this year ultimately will hang not necessarily on Jesse Minter, not necessarily even on Lamar Jackson, but on a precocious youth, more than a decade younger than yours truly. New Ravens offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, who will be 30 during this season. Spent last season as like Ben Johnson's understudy, the offensive coordinator. We know Ben Johnson is the offense in Chicago, but spent last season in Chicago with Ben Johnson. So there's some projection here with Declan Doyle as well, and I acknowledge that, right? I'm putting my finger on the scale. I think it's going to work given the talent involved. I think they're going to unlock Zay Flowers. I think Lamar Jackson's going to have a way better... How could he not have a better season? And also, I look at the rest of the teams in this division. Cleveland, almost certainly going to be bad this year. I don't even mean that as an insult. I just told you the sun's going to come out tomorrow. The Cleveland Browns are going to be bad this year. I'm not super into the Pittsburgh Steelers this year, although I will admit I am slightly intoxicated by Aaron Rodgers reuniting with his family just as a human interest story. I love it. I love that. I think Mike McCarthy's a great guy, and he's a good coach. I don't think the Steelers' ultimate upside, the ceiling, is that high for Pittsburgh this year. And I know a lot of people, including people I really respect, and I mean that sincerely. I can be wrong. Also, they can be wrong. They love the Cincinnati Bengals this year. I do not. This is Baltimore's division. I would be, an injury to Lamar Jackson notwithstanding. And obviously you could say that about Josh Allen gets hurt, whatever. You understand what I'm saying. Pending significant injuries to the most principal players on the team, I would be stunned, shocked, flabbergasted, gobsmacked if the Baltimore Ravens did not win the AFC North this year. And if they were not one of the final at least 4 teams standing in the AFC, and maybe, just maybe, I'll have the Baltimore Ravens playing on Championship Sunday. You better you bet. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. Terrific Football Tuesday. All right, we had a team in the AFC East. We had a team in the AFC North. As we move, it would be weird if I'm like that now with the San Francisco 49ers. Let's go to the AFC South. The Indianapolis Colts utterly mystify me at this moment. I can't go with Indy as the team that I really like, even if I think that Indy's upside is really high. Like the Colts' upside is to win the AFC South. Remember what they were last year. And I know, even prior to the Achilles tear, that the Colts' offense was on the skids a little bit. I understand. But the way they started the year, Shane Steichen is a wonderful coach and a great play caller. And I think he's kind of a difference-making head coach with what he's been able to do. Indy's upside's high, but we also have to acknowledge, given the quarterback, given the injury, that the floor is pretty low. So I can't really get there with Indy, even if for all the Colts fans out there, I'm acknowledging that the upside is high. I have no interest in Tennessee. We'll get to them. I like Jacksonville. I don't love the Jaguars this year, but I do like Jacksonville, and I think Jacksonville is a team that will be like, it wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville missed the playoffs. It wouldn't shock me if Jacksonville was, like the 6th seed in the playoffs. So I think either outcome is possible. The team that I believe will rule the roost in the AFC South this season is the Houston Texans. Now, Houston is the favorite to win the division at our show sponsor, BetMGM. The Texans plus 120 to win the AFC South, plus 900 to win the AFC, and a win total of about 10. Let's start with the defense. A common, I don't know if I want to use the word trope, because trope almost has a negative connotation to it, but something that people will say a lot. And I think it's been proven to mostly be accurate, right? When we think about year-over-year performance in the National Football League, you will hear a lot of people say, and it's correct, right? So this is not me like everyone's wrong that says this. They're not. That offense and offensive performance, good performance, elite performance, is stickier, meaning more likely to happen again, stickier year over year than defense. Because with defense, you can point to maybe you lose one player and it's the Jenga tower, the whole Jenga tower comes crumbling down. Or maybe, like the Chicago Bears did last season. This is not me saying I dislike the Bears, but the Bears had fantastic turnover luck last season. Fantastic, right? In the same sense as the New York Jets had the worst turnover and 0 interceptions an entire season. Like, unlikely statistically to happen again, right? You understand what I'm saying. So there will be people that will say Houston's defense was so unbelievably next level good last season. Where, and like, think about this, right? And I don't know if the suggestion is they would have beaten Seattle in the Super Bowl, but let's say in the playoffs, CJ Stroud was simply average instead of Nathan Peterman. Instead of like the worst quarterback you've ever seen, where people like me are calling correctly, I believe, for him to be benched at halftime of the divisional round game in Foxborough against the Patriots for Davis Mills and his giraffe neck. What if CJ Stroud had been simply average? Better question. What if CJ Stroud was what he was as a rookie last year in the playoffs? Did the Texans go to the Super Bowl? I'm not saying they would have beaten Seattle at all. I think Seattle would have won the game. So you trust Sam Darnold and Seattle's offense more, right? But would the Texans have gotten there? I'm being serious. You don't think they would, if they had gotten average quarterback play in that game against the Patriots, they would have beaten New England. Right? We all watched the game. And then on the road in Denver against Jarrett Stidham with that defense, you think Denver would have won that game? Come on. Stop it. Now, again, I think Seattle would have beaten them. But the Texans, with average quarterback play in last year's playoffs, go to the Super Bowl. No? Am I wrong? This defense is going to be nasty this year. Like Brian Knobs and Jerry Sags. The mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Get the megaphone ready. Put the armpits in the face. They're the nasty boys this season. They're going to be tremendous. Will Anderson Jr. is going to be the defensive player of the year. He is utterly unstoppable. And Anderson and Danielle Hunter form, for my money, the premier 1-2 pass rushing duo in the National Football League. And there are other good ones. For me, Anderson and Hunter top the list. Monsters at all three levels. Al-Shaair is you can now make kind of a dirty player, but he's awesome at the linebacker position. The secondary is an embarrassment of riches. Look at the cornerbacks. Derek Stingley and Kamari Lassiter. Is that the best 1-2 cornerback combo in the league? Pretty damn good, right? D'Amico Ryans has gone to the playoffs all 3 years he's been the head coach. So really, for Houston, what it comes down to, can CJ Stroud pull his head out of his derriere? Can he be average to slightly above average? And anything other than that is gravy if the defense is going to be what I'm expecting it to be this season. So now let's consider the factors around CJ Stroud, right? The offensive line was horrendous last year. And to be fair, there's train wreck potential for it this year. I'm acknowledging that. But what I will also say, my opinion, I think I'm going to be right on this, is that the Texans' offensive line will be a pretty good amount better this year than it was last year. And I know that, this national audience may not necessarily be interested in like the weeds breakdown of the offensive line positions. I'm just going to tell you, and we'll be really quick on this. Arante Ursary is playing the blind side left tackle. He was a rookie last year. I don't know if his potential is to be Orlando Pace. but I think he's going to be an above-average NFL left tackle. Something to be said for that, right? Wyatt Teller comes over at left guard from Cleveland. Been a steady option throughout his career. The center situation makes you a little queasy because Keon Rutledge, the first-round pick, played guard in college. They're going to try and transition him to center. We'll see how that goes. But he's a road grader, physical. And that's what this team needed. Some of the physicality of the defense to morph over and bleed over to the offensive side of the ball. Ed Ingram is a reliable right guard, and Braden Smith is a reliable right tackle. I'm not saying they're the 92 Cowboys as far as an offensive line goes, but I absolutely feel they'll be better. Let's talk more about offensive physicality. You want it? Here's David Montgomery toting the rock. I don't think David Montgomery is Earl Campbell, but he's a huge upgrade over what the Texans were trotting out there last year. And now, a 1-2 punch of Montgomery and Woody Marks is not horrendous. It's not the best. It's not the best, but it's not horrendous, and it's better than what they had last year. Here's Nico Collins, one of the best receivers in the league. Year 2 of the Iowa State boys, Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel. I think Higgins can be a stud this year for the Houston Texans. And there's a guy, you'll remember his name. We haven't talked about him in a long time because at the end of 2 NFL seasons ago, the 24 NFL season, his leg exploded. ACL, LCL, MCL, BCL, ZCL. If there's a CL in the knee, Tank Dell tore it. Plus, fractured patella. Is a patella in the leg? Femur, leg, whatever. Everything that could go wrong with the leg went wrong for Tank Dell. Missed all of last year. All of them. Do you remember how good he was when he played? Now, maybe he won't be what he was prior to the injury, but if he's even is he 80% of what he was? 85%? Do you understand what a big deal that is for this offense? And they can run the ball a little bit now, and the line's better? If CJ Stroud can give you anything more than he gave you last year, and the bar is low, why can't this team go to the Super Bowl? I said it. Why can't the Houston Texans go to the Super Bowl this year? The Houston Texans will win the AFC South. And as of this moment right now, this is pencil, not pen. It's July 28th. I've reserved the right to change my mind. As it stands right now, I will have the Houston Texans playing on Championship Sunday. And perhaps on Super Bowl Sunday. Now, if the Texans aren't playing on Super Bowl Sunday, if their season ends in the AFC Championship game, there will be a team that it ends against. A team that I like even better. I'll tell you who that team is next, here on You Better You Bet.
16-yard touchdown pass, 1st and 10. Here comes the drive here by hand. The throw by Mahomes, incomplete. Flag thrown, looking for
Mahomes is down. Mahomes
Smith-Schuster, he sure is.
Timeout for injury.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM plays. What's great about BetMGM is basically every day. But look, today is today, so we'll say today. Today, yesterday, tomorrow, today. BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Next hour on the show, we will be joined by friend of You Better You Bet, Carrington Harrison, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, afternoon drive host, to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Kevin Harlan and company on the call last season on CBS when Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL in December against the Los Angeles Chargers. Putting a sour period on an awful, no good, very bad season for the Kansas City Chiefs. That somehow, I still can't believe it happened. We all watched it happen. I still can't believe it. Inexplicably ended at 6-11 and out of the postseason. The Denver Broncos are loaded. Loaded. Basically returned the same team plus Jalen Waddle. Now, new play caller on offense in Davis Webb. We will talk about all of these things. I have a lot to say about every team as we approach the start of the season. But Denver's loaded. The Chargers are everybody's team du jour, right? Mike McDaniel calling the offense, Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert. I get the optimism. I understand. The favorite at BetMGM, actually, though, to win the division, the AFC West, is the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored to win the division, despite the fact that it feels, and I'm not trying to create this narrative that no one thinks the Chiefs are going to be good. I'm not saying that. But I think if you ask most people, hey, what do you like in the division? People will say Denver or LA. That's been my anecdotal experience, at least. And that's not, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, that's not me asking my next door neighbor. Big Montreal Canadiens fan, nice guy. This is me talking to people, friends of mine in the NFL media. Not that they have to be right and you have to be wrong, but people that do this for a living, right? And are invested in it big time. They like Denver or they like the Bolts. Maybe people are sleeping on the Chiefs. Now, we could talk about the additions on defense, right? Mansour Delane, trade up first round to the draft corner after losing Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, right? Steve Spagnuolo, tremendous secondary coach and obviously Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. Peter Woods and R. Mason Thomas on the defensive line, right? We could talk about that. Eric Bieniemy back calling the defense, and of course we are aware of the situation involving his wife and his son, and just thank God his wife is okay, and like the prayers to his family sincerely for Eric sleeping with Bieniemy, one of the great nicknames of all time. We're glad that his wife is okay. He's back. Kenneth Walker at the running back position, gonna matter a lot. But really what this comes down to, for me, with the Kansas City Chiefs, plus 750 to win the AFC. Yes, minus 210 to make the playoffs. Win total of basically about 10. Why I like the Chiefs, and insert laugh here because I loved the Chiefs last year, my Super Bowl prediction, and they didn't even make the playoffs. The quarterback. Here's number 15. The Dragon in red. And it's possible that a couple hours from now, we'll have video of Patrick Mahomes practicing for Kansas City. That's possible. After tearing his ACL in December. I'll leave you with this to end the hour. If you think about the great quarterbacks in the history of the National Football League, whether they've won a ton of Super Bowls, Mahomes already has 3, or not. The Bradys, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino, Joe Montana, you can go down the list. They almost never have a losing season. It doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. Now, it can, but it usually doesn't. History bears that out. What I believe to be likely is we will, 10 years from now, look back on the 2025 season, and I'm a Giants fan, right? I'm not a Chiefs fan saying this. We will look back on the 2025 Kansas City Chiefs season as the ultimate anomaly. Remember when that happened? How weird was that? Can you believe that actually happened, given what happened afterwards? I'd be stunned if it happened again. Here's the bottom line. Scouts and executives and coaches and networks and talking heads can say whatever they want. The best quarterback in the National Football League is still Patrick Mahomes. And I believe the Kansas City Chiefs will be back on Championship Sunday this year. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you. Coming up on the other side, we started with friend of the show, Carrington Harrison.
biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening as you do every day to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The terrific Football Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. Hope springs eternal today in the world of sports and in the National Football League. 32 out of 32 NFL teams at training camp today. Less than 50 days from the start of the season. Hall of Fame game next Thursday. What a time to be alive. First hour of the show devoted to a bunch of teams that I love this year in the National Football League. Some of them the betting market loves as well, and I love them even more than that. Coming up in about 20 minutes here on the show, I'm going to tell you a couple teams that I like less than the betting market. And one of them features a team and a quarterback that you probably love. I can't wait to share that with everybody coming up later this hour. And also this hour, we will get to everything happening, and there is a ton in Major League Baseball. An injury last night for the Boston Red Sox we need to discuss. Cody Bellinger out 4 to 6 weeks for the New York Yankees, and what they might do as we approach the trade deadline on Monday. And another day, another loss yesterday for the Detroit Tigers, as the world awaits to see if Tarek Skubal will be dealt by next Monday. We'll also get to the NBA, Bill Belichick, and North Carolina before we bid you adieu at noon Eastern Time. But joining us right now to kick off hour number 2 on this terrific Football Tuesday, fired up to have him not only on the show right now, but love having him as a part of the You Better You Bet family, one of the most talented guys in sports media, period. My friend, you hear him on You Better You Bet. You hear him every day, afternoon drive, The Drive, 96.5, The Fan in Kansas City. The very talented and handsome Carrington Harrison on Twitter at C.Harrison. My friend, welcome back to the show. What's going on?
Nick, happy to be on, man. You were talking about baseball, man. I live in Kansas City, so we have the Royals. I forgot that baseball was still happening.
Well, you guys, you did take 2 or 3 from the tie. I'm being sincere right now. I think there's a chance, Carrington, I mean this sounds crazy, that we will, come November, look back on this baseball season and what Kansas City did this past weekend to Detroit, taking 2 or 3 from the Tigers, as potentially what impacted who won the World Series this year. Because I think if the Tigers win that series against the Royals or sweep them, they might keep Tarek Skubal. But the fact that they lost 2 of 3 to the cellar-dwelling Kansas City Royals, I think made it very likely that they would in fact trade Tarek Skubal. So how about that for the Kansas City Royals?
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. I'm not saying that you're wrong, but if your decision to trade the best pitcher in the American League comes down to one series in late July when you are still under 500, then you're just a poorly run organization. The Tigers need to trade Tarek Skubal because of what you can get and think long term and think for 27, 28, and 29, not based off one weekend against Kansas City. A lot of these teams just have to sit down and be realistic with themselves about what the future looks like and can you win this season. Also, you got Skubal, whose contract is going to expire, and are you going to re-sign him? If you're going to make the decision to keep Skubal, I'm not mad if you make that decision, but you 100% need to sign him for next year long term. But if that's not in your plans, then you got to trade him. You got to cash out on all the picks and all of the prospects that you could potentially get and move forward as an organization. So I certainly hope that one weekend series from the Royals did not change the path of the Detroit Tigers.
I agree with everything you just said. And I just about fell out of my chair. I didn't. It's a nice sturdy chair. I didn't almost fall out of it. But I was surprised last week, Harrington. We had Jim Bowden on the show last week, former baseball general manager, athletic, CBS Sports HQ, Sirius XM, MLB Network Radio. And he basically said the Tigers are going to see how it goes over the next week and a half. And if they win, they'll keep him. And if they don't, they'll trade him. So you're right. It is crazy. I also think they're just crazy. Anyway. We can get off the Detroit Tigers and the Kansas City Royals for right now. Carrington, the main reason I wanted to have you on the show, other than I think you're great, is because I really would like to discuss the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, just for context here, I ended the first hour of the show saying that I believe the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be back in the playoffs, will win the AFC West, better than Denver, better than the Chargers. I might just pick them to go back to the Super Bowl this year, with Patrick Mahomes looking like he's going to be healthy. Just from a macro perspective, you're there. You talk about this team all the time. You're an expert as it concerns all things Kansas City. Where are you at right now on the Kansas City Chiefs as they get set to embark on training camp?
Nick, this might be the first time in a while in which I've been asked to do a Chiefs interview, and the host is higher on the Chiefs than I am. This is actually, it's funny enough, this was kind of a 5 o'clock topic that we had yesterday because, my text line was just saying, hey, you've been a little down on the Chiefs. And my position is I'm not down on the Chiefs, but at least locally, this is the first time in 8 years in which you can't talk about Kansas City, in my opinion, that they're the best team in the AFC. They have been that basically every year since Tom Brady went off to Tampa Bay. The Chiefs have been the best team heading into the season. Sure, 1 year Cincinnati wins. A couple of years ago, this team wins. But for the most part, Kansas City has been the best team in the AFC. The last time the Chiefs looked like the Chiefs was probably January of 2025. Since they got blown out in the Super Bowl, you fast forward, they had a weird offseason. They win 6 games. The Chiefs have to prove to me again that they're the best team in the AFC. I mean, the entire conference is radically different. The Broncos are much different than they were a year and a half ago. The Chargers are a lot different. The Patriots are a lot different. Buffalo's hired a new coach. Baltimore's hired a new coach. So I certainly understand optimism with Kansas City, but you can't get blown out in the Super Bowl, follow it up with 6 wins, have the 9th overall pick, move up to the 6th overall pick, and then heading into the following season, I treat you like you're the best team. No, you got to prove that on the football field, and it's just been a while since Kansas City has done that.
Are you surprised that at my show sponsor, BetMGM, that the Chiefs, now they're not a huge favorite, they're plus 180, and the Broncos are right behind them at plus 185. Are you surprised then to hear, and would you place your money elsewhere based on value or what you think it should be, are you surprised to hear that the Chiefs are the favorite to win the AFC West?
I'm not, just because, and you know this as well as anybody, that you aren't getting deals with certain teams. It's sort of like in the WNBA. You can only make Caitlin Clark, you can only have her down so much because the public will then load up on her, and then they have to kind of regulate it just a little bit. So if you put Kansas City at 3-1 to win the AFC West, hell, I would take the Chiefs at 3-1 to win the AFC West. I think Denver should be the favorite. I'm actually surprised that Denver is valued and priced the way that they are. I like Denver at 2-1. Denver is plus 1,000, so 10-1 to be the 1 seed in the AFC West. I don't understand what I'm missing with Denver that everybody else is kind of backing off of. They've got a capable quarterback. I think their run game's going to be improved this season. They add the best receiver in the AFC West, going to get Jalen Waddle. They have the best defense in the AFC West. I do think that this year's gambling markets, to me, reflect that the public needs to see it from certain teams again. Because if you look at the top of it, it's the same teams that it's been for the last 3 years. It's Kansas City, Baltimore, and Buffalo. Two of those 3 teams missed the playoffs last season, but now they're right back at the top. 2 of those teams changed head coaches this offseason, and they're still getting the love. So I see that as the public doesn't believe in Jacksonville, doesn't believe in Denver, doesn't believe in New England, doesn't believe in Houston enough, and it's going with what it knows. It's going with the quarterbacks. It's picking Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Patrick Mahomes. So that's how I see it more than anything.
No, I totally agree with that, obviously. And look, you know the answer to that question. Why does the market see the Chiefs one way and the Broncos another, despite Denver sweeping the Chiefs last year and Denver hosting Championship Sunday? It's because Bo Nix is the Broncos quarterback and Patrick Mahomes is the Chiefs quarterback. And I detailed it to end the hour where, if you look at the history of the league, you never see a quarterback at Mahomes' stature stack losing seasons. Like, it can happen. There can be anomalies. Dan Marino finished under 500 one year. We've seen Tom Brady's final year in Tampa. Like, it's happened for some of the great quarterbacks, but not terribly often. I'm just of the opinion, and, I can be wrong. I was way wrong on the Chiefs last year. If Mahomes is playing, Carrington, I still think he's the best quarterback, even with how last season went. I still would take him over anybody else. I still think he's a number one, top of the heap, king of the hill, and I think that's going to be enough for Kansas City, just that fact alone, if he's going to be playing this year. What about your expectations for number 15 this season?
Yeah, Nick, and that makes a lot of sense. I guess I want to at least respond to one thing, and then I'll answer your question. I hear exactly what you're saying about Kansas City, but I would just challenge you with this question. We've never seen a team in the middle of a dynasty do what Kansas City just did. If you think about the Yankees of the 90s or the Patriots of the 2000s or the San Francisco 49ers or whatever dynasty that you would consider, we've never seen them get blown out in the championship game the way that they did and then follow it up with 6 games. The Chiefs didn't win 10 games and lose in the wild card round. They were eliminated at Thanksgiving, and they had no chance at making the playoffs. I certainly hear what you're saying about the Chiefs, but just like they're also doing something on the other side that we've never seen before as well. About Mahomes, his progress has been tremendous. When we're talking about a player that tore his ACL, fast forward, he's never missed anything with Kansas City. Now, he didn't play in those 3 games, but they were already mathematically eliminated. I don't know if he's going to play in those games anyway. This offseason, everything, OTAs, minicamp, anything that the Chiefs are practicing, Mahomes has been their starting quarterback for all of those things. He was clear. He's been practicing so far at St. Joe. They have everybody at camp tomorrow for their first, official team practice. It was just rookies and quarterbacks over the weekend, and he's going to practice tomorrow as their number one quarterback. So I'm expecting Mahomes to be there for week 1, and this is where I am on your side and where I'm optimistic about Kansas City. I think that the Chiefs were asking Mahomes to do something that no other team was asking their good quarterback to do. Every team that you think can win the Super Bowl can run the football and has invested in running the ball. Last year, the Chiefs had Patrick Mahomes with Kareem Hunt as their leading running back, who is still unemployed, and they had Isaiah Pacheco, who was just a shell of himself after he broke his leg early in 2025. So I think the addition of Kenneth Walker and just returning some balance. I mean, the Chiefs haven't had a 1,000-yard running back since 2017. So giving him that kind of weapon in the backfield, somebody who can catch the ball out of the backfield, somebody who can be reliable, I think it's going to open things up offensively. That hasn't really been the case for Kansas City for the last 2 or 3 seasons.
It was funny, but that was Kareem Hunt's rookie year. Just to put things in perspective, how long ago that was that Kansas City did indeed have that 1,000-yard rusher. Tuesday edition of You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports, Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM. Our guest, friend of the show, family member of the show, Carrington Harrison, The Drive, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, on Twitter at c.harrison. So look, I really like the Chiefs this year, but I loved them last year and things went awry. So I don't have to be right. I'm curious as it stands right now, and then a couple micro questions about Kansas City before we wrap it up. Just where we're at right now, how many teams, Carrington, and this can be a pencil, not pen answer. Training camps have just started. We've seen no preseason games. Injuries are going to happen. But as it stands right now, how many teams in the AFC would you take over the Kansas City Chiefs?
That's a great question. I would put Denver as probably the only team definitively. I'm kind of bad at these questions just because I'm not really a power rankings guy.
Well,
I see
to be fair, system. Everybody's bad at it. We're all bad at it. We're all throwing darts before the season starts.
How I was going to explain it, Nick, is just to me, it's more of a what team do you put in a Super Bowl contending? What team is kind of in that next tier? Like you and I would agree, the Rams, Seattle, teams that can obviously win the Super Bowl. So they're in tier 1, and then there's another tier. So right now, I would say for 8 years, Kansas City was the clear cut. This is the best team in the AFC, and you really had to explain why you would pick another team over Kansas City. I think right now they're in tier 2. But I think there's 6 teams in the AFC in tier 2. And that's what makes, I think, that conference so interesting is in the NFC, you have 2 clear favorites and everybody chasing those 2 teams. You could tell me that you like 7 teams in the AFC, and I can't tell you you're wrong. If you like Baltimore, if you like Buffalo, if you like New England, if you like Denver, if you like Kansas City heading into this season, if you like Houston because of their defense, the AFC, to me, for the first time in maybe 20 years, doesn't have a leader. We had the Patriots dominate for 20 years. We had Kansas City dominate for about 8 years. And this is the first time heading into the season that there is no favorite. If you're telling me that Baltimore right now is Vegas' favorite to win the AFC at plus 4-1, then there is no favorite. Baltimore missed the playoffs last year. Lamar Jackson ran for less than 400 yards, and they have a coach that we know nothing about. If that team's the favorite, then the AFC is wide open. So I would say Denver is the only team I would definitively put ahead of Kansas City. And then you got 5 teams in that next tier that I would say anything is possible.
I want to hit the offense quickly and then the defense, Carrington, and then we'll get you out of here. So on the offensive side of the ball, I almost don't even really want to discuss Kenneth Walker, only because I think the expectation amongst everybody is that he's going to have a really good year for Kansas. Really, Super Bowl MVP, best running back Mahomes has ever had. Like, he's an absolute stud. Mahomes is saying he's going to run less this year, give the ball to Kenneth Walker. We expect that to go well. Now, this is going to sound strange to people, I think, the way I'm going to phrase this, but I think it's an appropriate way to phrase it, right? Because Travis Kelce, I don't think played that well last year, and I don't think he had any focus at the beginning of the year, whether it's running the wrong route and hurting Xavier Worthy in Brazil week 1 against the Chargers, dropping that pass in week 2 against the Eagles that Makuba picked off. Chiefs might have won that game if Travis Kelce had held on to that ball. I think you can make the case that Travis Kelce should step up this season. Same thing with Rashee Rice, who's obviously run afoul of the law and has difficulty staying healthy. Xavier Worthy has, I don't know if he's been a full-on bust, but he hasn't, achieved and fulfilled that first-round promise. Tyquan Thornton, can he step up? What about Jalen Royals? Give me a name, and it can be Kelce if you want, even though he's a future first-ballot Hall of Famer. Give me a name in the Chiefs receiving core that you think will step up this season, and why?
Well, let's start with Kelce. I hope that it's not Kelce. If your offense is led by a 38-year-old player, your offense just can't be dynamic. That can't be the center of your offense. I'm a big believer that one of the reasons why the Chiefs' offense has taken a step back over the last couple of seasons is he's been the center of their offense. He's led them in yards from scrimmage. That just can't be the case. You get explosive plays from explosive players, and that's not what Kelce is anymore. Kelce's like Al Horford, as an example. Like, you need Al Horford to hit a couple of threes. You need him to rebound a little bit, be a veteran presence. Al Horford can't lead your team in scoring. You're not winning the championship that way. So I certainly hope that it's not Kelce. The answer has to be Rashee Rice. All he needs to do is do exactly what he did in 8 games for 16 or 17 games. He had around 53 catches, like 517 yards and 5 touchdowns. If you just double the numbers that Rashee Rice had last season, if he can just stay out of trouble, stay on the field, he's basically what Chris Olave did last season. You can live with him being Chris Olave. We don't think Olave's a top 5 receiver in the league, probably not a top 10 guy, but Chris Olave can be your team's number 1. You can function if he's your top receiver. So the person that needs to step up for the first time it's Rashee Rice. This is a big-time money year. And I don't know the man's finances, but I'm assuming, hey, you went to jail. You got charged with a felony. You had to pay the victims of the car accident that you lawyer fees. I'm assuming some of that rookie money is starting to run out a little bit. You ball out this season. You put up a George Pickens kind of year, a Chris Olave kind of season, and somebody will pay you next year. Maybe that money doesn't come from Kansas City, but Nick, you see how they're paying the wide receivers. You can be a team's 3rd wide receiver and get $15-20 million a year. So just stay out of trouble, put numbers up. Keep your head clean. Keep your nose clean. Just make good decisions and stay on the field. And Rashee Rice can really cash out at the end of the season.
Final question, and this will center around the defensive side of the ball. And I think this has been a huge issue for the Chiefs as well. And I think Brett Veach, and I think you'd agree with this, right? By and large, and it's hard to argue with the results, right? Has done a pretty good job as the Chiefs general manager, but if you look at the talent on the defensive side of the ball, not a ton of impact players there really outside of Chris Jones over the last couple, and certainly last year, right? I'm not like a film guy, but from people I talk to that I respect, It feels like everyone really likes Mansour Delane, and there's more optimism than pessimism on both Peter Woods, the other first-round pick, and R. Mason Thomas, the edge rusher the Chiefs took in the second round. What do you say to people like me, Carrington, who believe that this rookie trio of Delane, Thomas, and Woods, to go along with Kyrie's Tonga and Alohi Gilman and Kader Kohu, the new additions to the Chiefs defense, will get this unit back to where it's been in the past under Steve Spagnuolo?
I mean, that's certainly the feeling locally, but it's interesting because, you and I have been talking about the offensive side, and it's people that we know or we know they've spent significant capital on. Like, we're talking about Mahomes and Kenneth Walker, who was MVP of the Super Bowl. We're talking about Travis Kelce, who is going to the Hall of Fame, Rashee Rice, who's been in the news a lot, Xavier Worthy, the speedster coming out of Texas. Like, it's a lot of guys you know on offense. On the defense, it's a lot of guys that are unproven, haven't got a chance to play yet, just got drafted into the league that they're counting on. So one of the reasons why I feel the way I feel about Kansas City is at every level of their defense, it's a little bit of an unknown. Like you mentioned the D-line. You know two names on that D-line. You know George Karlaftis and Chris Jones. Outside of that, it's just a bunch of guys who have never done it in the league before. At linebacker, they've got a really good linebacker, Nick Bolton, but that's probably the extent of it. In their secondary, they don't have a proven starter from last year on their team. Now, cornerback is a position that the Chiefs have been very, very good at. They had McDuffie. They moved on. They had Jalen Watson. They've moved on. They had Charvarius Ward. They had L'Jarius Sneed. So they've done a really good job at corner. So a lot of it is just a trust and a confidence in how they've drafted over the last two seasons, a trust and confidence in Steve Spagnuolo, who is one of the best defensive corners in league history. So that's where a lot of the confidence comes from, that they're going to get the most out of that squad and coach that team up.
Final question. What is the thing, because summer's not over yet, right? We still have about 6 weeks until NFL season starts. What is the thing that you are most looking forward to doing this summer in your personal life before NFL season starts?
That is a great question. I can't quit Kanye West. I've tried to quit him 1,000 times. I just don't listen to him anymore. I don't mean like his music. I don't click on an interview with him. I don't want to know what he thinks about anything because every time he tells me what he thinks, it's usually the wrong thing. So I'm going to see Kanye at the end of August. He's going to be at in New Orleans in the Superdome. The stage looks amazing. I've seen a little bit of the set list. Those old Kanye songs have such a hold on me in my life. I just can't completely quit them. I wish that I could. We all struggle with that artist and separating the art from the artist. And Kanye is that person for me. I know that he's crazy. I know that he's problematic. I just can't quit. So that's something I'm looking forward to.
Can we? Do you have like another 60 to 90 seconds? Can we talk about this for a minute?
For you, Nick, I got all the time you need.
Okay, so I would say that Kanye is definitely my all-time favorite rapper, one of my favorite just musical acts ever in my entire life, right? And those first, and I think I'm 43. You're a couple of years younger than me, right? I think so. We're around the same age, one way or
little
another.
Bit,
yeah. So when we those albums and the time that they came out, like the end of college for me, right after I'm out of college, are seminal for me in my life. And like my wife likes a lot of old Kanye West also. And the song we've been listening to in the car constantly, I Wonder, which is just a tremendous song, right? And I kind of think Flashing Lights gets all the pub on that album. I think I Wonder might be just as good, if not better. So I'm totally with you on this. My issue with maybe seeing Kanye West today, like in 2026, and you've seen the set list, right? So if I ever ask, like, music or whatever, Spotify, Apple Music, shuffle Kanye West songs, they hit you with a lot of like the last couple albums. I have less than zero interest in any of these songs. I want like the first like six, or basically ending with The Life of Pablo. We can cut it off right there for me in Kanye West songs. So like, is this going to be new? Like how much new Kanye? Because if it's all old Kanye, so I might fly to New Orleans and go with you.
That's a great question. This is going to sound bad, but like musically for me, Kanye died at a point, and I think some of it is just related to everything that we were discussing. So like, I'm with you. Life of Pablo is to me the end of Kanye West music. Now, I've heard Donda before. I actually like Donda, but I have
Well,
never
he's got
heard
that
Donda
song with
2.
Kid Cudi, right, on the album when like it's the I forget the name of the album, but it's the one that's that regards his being bipolar. He's got a song with Kid Cudi. It's Ghost Town, maybe it's called.
I know
That's
the
a
one
great
you're
song.
talking about. I didn't listen to that album either. I haven't heard this new album. I have no interest in listening to it. I will never click play on it. Yeah, I mean, you and I probably have very similar like memories of Kanye West. Like I remember it was one Christmas, I got a $20 gift card to Best Buy. This is when you could get a PlayStation 2 Greatest Hits game. You know how hard it was to not buy a video game and wait for College Dropout to come out because I had to get it the first day. And that album didn't come out till like February. So I had this $20 gift card for 2 months waiting for it to come out. You know, I was one of the people that, you know, remember when 50 Cent and him had the beef when Graduation and Curtis came out. First day I'm at Best Buy to go get Graduation. I never heard an album like that before.
And I'm from Queens, and I choose Kanye also. And I'm from Queens, and I would choose Kanye over 50 Cent.
Yeah, you know, the first time I saw Kendrick Lamar in concert was at the Yeezus tour where Kendrick came out. He was just kind of this unknown guy, but you knew he was kind of next up. So I've been having so many positive memories for Kanye West. So I really hate the turn that he's made. And it's so anti-everything he rapped about early on in his career. But I just can't do it. And the fact that Kanye's been quiet during this press tour, he's been quiet during this tour, it signifies to me he kind of understands how important this is, and he can't have one of his episodes and mess up the money. Like, you haven't even seen some viral rant from any of these shows. Like, no, just do the songs and go home. That's all we want. So I'm really excited to see visually what it is. I'm excited to hear flashing lights in real time now.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see him again.
All right, this is actually the last one. What is Carrington Harrison's all-time favorite Kanye West song?
That's a great question. You know what? Let me give you a top 5 because it's hard to narrow it down to one.
Okay.
Devil in a New Dress. It's just
great.
That whole second verse and then the guitar leading into Ross's verse is just, it's incredible. Spaceship is really high on the list
Spaceship is
for
my
me.
number one. I love that you said that.
Spaceship is an incredible song.
Dude, that was my, like, when I'm coming up and I'm making no money in my career early on after I graduated college, I would listen to Spaceship and get, like, emotional, like, my time's coming. Like, that's my favorite. That's my number one.
I'm with you. I don't want to be around anybody that can't relate to Spaceship. Like, if you've never felt like that, then you've never lived. Like, stay away from me. Like, that's kind of how I feel. It's just such a relatable song. You know, I really like slow jams. I can't explain why. I really like that song.
Yeah, here's why you like it. Because it's awesome. That's why you like it.
No, that's a very fair point. I'm a big fan of it. I like So Appalled. I just like all of them rapping and kind of going back and forth. The beat is real hard to me. I really like that. I got to give you another one off the top of my head because there's so many. Let me get 2 words off College Dropout. I like 2 words a lot.
2 words is great, and and no one brings that song up. Is Mos Def on that song? Yes, right?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The best line from the song Slow Jams is, "My dog said you ain't no freak, so you about to prove my man wrong." Dude, I enjoyed this, man. Dude, we could do this all day. You're the best. Carrington Harrison joining us on the show, 96.5 The Fan in Kansas City, and obviously You Bet family member. Thank you very much, my friend. I enjoyed it.
Nick, man, I appreciate you as always, man.
Carrington Harrison joining us here on You Bet. Just one last Kanye story, if you'll indulge me. It has nothing to do with his music. So, I don't know. I'm like 43 now, and I don't say that as an insult to people my age that are sneakerheads. But in my 30s, I was, and even like in my 20s, but really like picked back up. Basically, once I started to make more money, I was like big into sneakers. And Yeezys at the time were like the sneaker, right? And I owned a ton of pair of Yeezys. I had a lot of 350s, 500s, 700s. I had like probably like 10 to 12 pairs of Yeezys. And I loved them, right? Super comfortable. They were the it sneaker. Now, when Kanye starts to go off the reservation, right, and he has said, Carrington's right, separating the artist from, like, the things he says and does. He's crazy, right? Like, actually nuts. Actually, and you watch, like, the documentary on him, it's really sad, like, what happened to him mentally. It is sad. He's crazy. I even reached a point where I'm like, I don't want to be, I can't wear this dude's sneakers. He's too nuts. The things he says are too out there. So my wife's uncle, Sal, great guy. I play pickleball with him. Guy's in great shape. I gave Sal like 6 pairs of Yeezys. Like my Wave Runners, if you know anything about, like Wave Runner was like the first Yeezy big sneaker, the Wave Runner 700. I gave him some 350s. He shows up at the pickleball court with me in Staten Island, literally wearing Yeezys. Like wearing Wave Runner 700s. And kids are looking at him like, where did this old dude get these sneakers? And I'm like, I kind of want them back. Can I get them back? Probably not. All right, Bill is going to kill me if we don't break. I understand this segment went long. I also thought it was very good. On the other side, I'll give you at least one team that I don't like heading into the season. We got a lot of time to get to the NFL. We'll hit Major League Baseball. We'll hit the NBA. I'll tell you the star that needs to demand a trade. We'll talk about Bill Belichick. Still a lot to do on a Tuesday on Westwood One Sports.
Burrow fires, caught, chase. They try to chase him down, and they cannot. Touchdown.
How special is he when he gets out in the open field?
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Now, tell me if I have the right. Want to go to my place and just kick it like Tarbo. I almost got it. And possibly bring you over. We play good music on the show. Laura doing a nice job. Laura, we need to connect off air because I forgot to this is probably better suited for off air. I'll do it on there, whatever. This weekend, I was thinking, right? You go through, this is not going to screw everything up. Bill's already saying, you need to break by this time in the chat. And he's right. Do you go through the same thing that I go through as it concerns music? I don't think I'm unique in this regard. It's wow, I'm the only person that does this. But, I have pretty eclectic music tastes. A lot of people do. Right? It's not me being I'm the only one that feels this way. A lot of people do, I think, right? I would say the only musical genre that I don't actively seek out at times is country music. But, my dad loved country music. So if you put on a country music song from the 90s, chances are I know all the words. But it's not like a genre that I seek out. So when I'm in my 20s and early to mid 30s, let's say, hip hop is my favorite genre. By far. And prior to that, I love heavy metal and I love rock. Tool's my favorite all-time rock band. Metallica's my favorite heavy metal rock band. I listen to a ton of jazz. I listen to a ton of bossa nova now. Generally, more peaceful, right? Because as I get a little older, that's the vibe I'm looking for. I find myself, for whatever reason these days, getting a little bit more back into hip-hop. Now, I'm not a huge fan, and I shouldn't put it like that. It's not that I think current hip-hop, I do think it's bad. I just don't, it's not for me. Maybe it's because I'm old. Maybe it's really good. I'm not trying to tell anyone how they should feel about anything. But I've been listening to a lot of stuff I listened to when I was younger. When I'm 19 years old. When I'm 29 years old. When I'm 35 years old. And anywhere in between. And I'm discovering all these songs. Sometimes Tyler will say, I'm on a chat with Tyler and Femi. And a text message chain. And we send songs to each other. And sometimes Tyler or Femi will send a song and man, I haven't heard this song in a decade. And I love it. And I've been coming up with songs, beats, that I'd like to come back from break with. So this was a long-winded way of saying, Laura and Kenny, we need to connect on this because I have some ideas of songs we can come back from break with. Because I really enjoy it. Thank you for indulging me, the man with the microphone. This segment on You Better You Bet, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business. What's the credit on that highlight we just came back with? Just type it to me. Protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. Progressivecommercial.com. Amazon Prime, courtesy of the call. So, we will get to, over the course of the rest of the week, teams that I like and don't like this week. I gave you a bunch of teams I like. We'll save some of the teams I don't like for, tomorrow and Thursday. And, it's July 28th. A lot of time to get to all of it. This pains me a little bit because I would really like to like this team. I sound like a Valley girl, I'd like to like this team. A lot of smart people. That's not a tongue-in-cheek comment. It's not a disrespectful, backhanded compliment. I'm complimenting people. They're smart. I respect them. They love the Cincinnati Bengals this year. Maybe you love the Cincinnati Bengals this year. Cincy is 10-1 to win the AFC, plus 185 to win the AFC North. A big favorite to make the postseason. Yes, minus 175 and a win total of about 10. And basically everything you hear out of either Joe Burrow, who really is the guy that's pulling the strings in the organization, fair enough, right? Franchise stud quarterback, almost won the franchise its first Super Bowl, if not for ridiculous all-world play by Aaron Donald at the end of Super Bowl 56. If you listen to what Joe Burrow says, if you listen to what Zach Taylor says, they're basically saying the same thing, and they've been saying the same thing for months, which is they're loaded. And that the front office, and they're not saying, obviously, verbatim, that the front office has not done its job in the past, but they basically are kind of saying that the front office did something now. And that, basically, I'm paraphrasing here. They haven't said this. This is my interpretation of what they've said. There's no excuse. There's no excuse. The defense, to call it a train wreck is an insult to train wrecks. Now, here's Dexter Lawrence. And look, I'm a Giants fan. I wanted the Giants to trade Dexter Lawrence. Dexter Lawrence is obviously a massive upgrade over what the Bengals had. I had my reasons. I've detailed them a million times. I'm not going to do it again. I love the Giant. I liked it for both teams. I said it at the time. Dexter Lawrence. Boye Mafe. Jonathan Allen. Brian Cook, underrated signing in the secondary for the Cincinnati Bengals. The defense is going to be better. The offensive line should be better. How could it be worse? But it actually should be better this season. It really should be, right? We like Chase Brown. Good running back. Burrow's obviously a monster. Jamar Chase is obviously a monster. T. Higgins is obviously a monster. There's legitimate reason for optimism. Here's my beef with the 2026 Cincinnati Bengals. I think the head coach sucks. I'm not a Zach Taylor guy. I never have been. I don't think he's a good head coach. And I think the defensive coordinator is also terrible in Al Golden. And I don't know what the thought process is. First off, of getting rid of Lou Anarumo in the first place. But then you replace him with Al Golden. The defense is even worse, and then you bring Al Golden back for a second year. Like, why would we expect, and I understand that there's some more talent here, but we are looking at right now, I can be wrong, but we are looking at what I would consider to be, I know they went to the Super Bowl. They almost won the Super Bowl with Zach Taylor. I understand that. I get it. Do you think he's a good head coach? The offensive coach, I don't think is very good in Zach Taylor, and the defensive coach, I don't think is any good in Al Golden. Awesome. You think, like really, we haven't seen Jesse Minter coach a game yet. Who would you take as your head coach, Jesse Minter or Zach Taylor? Who would you guess? We haven't seen Declan Doyle call plays in the NFL. Who would you guess is a better coordinator and better play caller at his side of the ball this year? Declan Doyle, who we've never seen call a game, or Al Golden? If you had to bet on one of them, who would you bet on? So look, like, I get why people could be seduced by them. There's a fantasy football component of this. I don't mean that as an insult. I love fantasy football as much or more than anybody. But we get seduced by Burrow and Chase and Higgins and this offense and the promise of what some of these defensive free agents bring in. But we forget that the guys that are actually in charge are nincompoops. That they're not very good. I don't think they're better than the Ravens. I don't even know if they're better than Pittsburgh. And I don't love the Steelers this year. Here are teams that I will take over Buffalo right now in the AFC. Or take over Cincinnati right now. Buffalo's going to be the first one. The teams that I will take over Cincinnati right now in the AFC. Buffalo, New England, Baltimore, Houston, Jacksonville, Kansas City, Denver, and the Chargers. And I'd consider the Steelers. I think the Bengals will be on the outside looking in at the playoffs yet again. And then Cincinnati's going to have a huge problem on its hands. In my opinion, it is more likely than not that come February 2027, Joe Burrow will be trying to find a way out of Cincinnati. Take a break. Coming up next, some thoughts on the upcoming Major League Baseball trade deadline. And we'll start in the AL East here on Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
What, this is like who is this, Sum 41? One of those bands, right? If I could find you now, yeah, I don't like the song. The song sucks. I don't want to hear it. Please. Yeah, I'm good on this genre of music. I like the Alien Ant Farm's cover of Annie, Are You Okay? Is that the name of the song? The Michael Jackson song? Anyway. Today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add the parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today. Please gamble responsibly. Yes, the name of that song is Smooth Criminal. Not Annie, Are You Okay? It's a bad job by me. Okay. Last night in Major League Baseball, trade deadline 6 days away. I'll have more baseball thoughts for next hour on the show. For now, let's focus on the American League East. So the Boston Red Sox last night beat the Athletics on the road and have now won 10 straight road games. First time since 1939, the Boston Red Sox have won 10 straight games on the road. And it's been an incredible turnaround for this team since the awful start that culminated in the firing of manager Alex Cora. Now, in case you missed it over the weekend, we didn't get to it yesterday, but Boston made the first true trade splash of this year's trade season, dealing 24-year-old pitcher Connolly Early, who you might remember started one of the wild card games last year against the Yankees, was not great, wasn't terrible, but wasn't great, traded Connolly Early for Curtis Mead. Now, Curtis Mead, some Red Sox fans were pissed about this. Curtis Mead is someone who is unknown to basically people other than those who read Baseball Prospectus for a long time. Was kind of an afterthought as early as 3 or 4 months ago. But displayed some prodigious power for the Nationals, hit 17 homers, and people were upset with this deal that Craig Breslow swung. And I can understand why to a degree. Early a good young pitcher. I felt like it was a gamble worth making for the Red Sox, who desperately needed some bop in their lineup. The pitching's been really good, and Garrett Crochet could be back at some point before the end of the season. So Boston currently holding the second wild card spot in the American League. Mead last night gets hit by a pitch on the hand in literally his first game as a Red Sox. X-rays negative. We'll see how long he might be out for. I think that potential injury, even if he's only out for a couple games, I really think the Red Sox, and I'm a Yankee fan, I don't want to say this, but I have to tell like it is, right? The American League stinks this year. It's bad. How bad is it? Bad enough that the Yankees are the favorite. And we'll talk Yankees next hour on the show. Cody Bellinger will miss 4 to 6 weeks now with the left hamstring strain. If I'm the Boston Red Sox here, right? I'm Craig Breslow and company. I'm Nick Kostos. If I'm Craig Breslow and the Red Sox, I think you do more. I think there's more to do. In a typical, if the Red Sox played in the National League, we wouldn't be having this conversation. If this were a good American League, we wouldn't be having this conversation. But the AL's wide open. Especially if Crochet comes back, if Roman Anthony can ever come back, and Mead's back and he's healthy, I think they should buy. The opportunity is there for the Red Sox to make a big run in October. Not to win the World Series, but to make a run in the American League postseason. Final hour, power hour coming up on the other side. We will do way more on Major League Baseball. We'll talk about the NBA star that needs to demand a trade, a little Bill Belichick as well. But Brock Farine kicks it off from the Fan in Los Angeles.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Laura. Final hour. Power hour. You better you bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our amazing crew, Brock Vereen, and you. The Power Hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. We got a little sidetrack last hour talking with our friend of the show, Carrington Harrison, about Kanye West and some of our favorite Kanye West songs. And as a result, we're a little behind. We still have a lot to do. We got to talk some New York Yankees. We got to get into the Detroit Tigers, the Phillies, the Brewers as we approach the Major League Baseball trade deadline on Monday. We'll get to that coming up in about 20 minutes. And I will tell all of you two things. Numero uno. The NBA star that should be demanding a trade from his team, and the single most pathetic thing on a long, I'm talking CVS receipt level long, the single most pathetic thing on a CVS receipt level list of pathetic things about Bill Belichick and the North Carolina Tar Heels football team. Number one on that list. That's coming up later this hour. Bets for tonight will close the show. But joining us right now to kick off the Power Hour on this terrific Football Tuesday, and it is terrific, 32 out of 32 teams reporting today to training camp. We are thrilled to have this guy on the show because he is kicking ass right now on our sports station in Los Angeles, The Fan in LA. The brand new Odyssey sports station, been on the air for a couple months, been making news. Friend of the show, Bill Ryder, making national news yesterday for his take on LeBron James leaving the Lakers. We are honored to bring onto the show Brock Vereen, who is the co-host of Brock and Alex middays on The Fan in Los Angeles, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. Also game analyst on the Big Ten Network, former NFL defensive back. On Twitter at his name, Brock Vereen. Brock, Nick Kostos here. You better you bet Westwood One Sports. Welcome to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. And what would a Monday be without Bill Ryder making news talking about LeBron James, who he claims to love, although there is absolutely no evidence of that?
Well, I would say and I'm friends with Bill, so I feel like Bill does not like LeBron, and LeBron also does not like Bill, which is totally fine. I think it's kind of cool to say, like, LeBron James doesn't like you. I wish LeBron James didn't like me. I think that would be a feather in my cap. Now, Brock, before we talk some sports, a little birdie told me, that birdie is mutual friend of ours, Andrew Williams, that you don't have your first sip of coffee every day until 1 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time. How in the hell is that possible?
This thing has grown so much. So the brief story of it is I've been working at Big Ten Network for 5 years now. And in year 3, so 2 years ago, I'm sitting there making coffee and a guy says, "Hey, how come you don't have coffee until the afternoon?" I said, "What?" He said, "You only have coffee in the afternoon." I said, "That's not true." And I had to sit there and think. And I called my wife and she made me realize, yeah, on work days, you don't drink coffee until 1 p.m. I don't know why it happened, but it stuck, and I'm not going to break something that's not, I'm not going to fix something that's not broken. So yes, on the weekends, I'll have coffee with breakfast, but on work days, and now that it's almost football season, the weekends do become work days, and the first cup of coffee is not until 1 p.m.
So, like, are you like not tired in the morning? Like, do you have that extra pep in your step? Because I actually have it here. I generally only have one coffee during the day. This is the cup for people that can see. This is a gigantic cup. This thing is filled with, this is filled with gasoline every morning. Iced coffee. I drink it at 6 in the morning Eastern time. Are you got that natural pep in your step in the morning?
I do, and I don't want to act like I'm caffeine free. I will sometimes have black tea. Typically it's chamomile tea, which doesn't have caffeine, but sometimes it's black tea. But no, I just stick with with coffee until the afternoon. I've realized the afternoon cup of coffee is my favorite cup of coffee, so I want to maximize that. And maybe the biggest issue is once I start drinking coffee, I can't stop. So maybe by pushing it back in the day, I naturally can limit overdosing on caffeine.
This is why I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. Because if I have one, I want to put them on like a nice Italian roll and eat a cigarette sandwich. It's why I don't smoke anymore. All right, I guess we should probably talk some sports. So you guys are doing an awesome job. Obviously, the fan in Los Angeles, and a ton of excitement this year about both the LA teams. Obviously, as training camps are beginning today in the National Football League. Rams began earlier this weekend because they play the Niners in Melbourne, Australia, before the first NFL Sunday. Let's start with the LA Rams, the favorites to win the NFC. The favorites to win the Super Bowl. Do you see it that way, Brock, or are you looking to poke some holes in this team ahead of the season starting?
Well, first off, the fact that the Rams, as the Super Bowl favorite, who play in a city that is hosting the Super Bowl, where they last won their Super Bowl on their home stadium. Yeah, let's go ship that key divisional matchup to the other side of the world. Love that, NFL. Great job there on the whole marketing standpoint. But as far as the Rams are considered, it has to be Super Bowl or bust. I mean, this is, on paper, this is the most talented team, has potential to be the most talented team I've ever seen in my lifetime. I think you have a reigning MVP in Matthew Stafford, who at 38 years old has never looked younger. You have to keep him upright, but you have the genius play caller in Sean McVay, who has taken the reins from Kyle Shanahan as far as who every other offense in the NFL wants to copy. You have Puka Nacua, who needs to get his act right off the field, but on the field, it is unmistakable that he's among the best. And you have Devontae Adams, who's walking into the Hall of Fame in a couple of years from now. Defensively, of course, the addition of Myles Garrett is massive. Potentially the addition of Aaron Donald. But what they did in the secondary is what actually excites me the most. Having the 6'2", long-arm physical cornerback in Jalen Watson to handle those bigger receivers. And the versatile Trent McDuffie, who can play nickel, he can play outside corner, he can play inside corner. What Chris Shula, the defensive coordinator, is going to be able to do defensively, knowing that he's the master of confusing quarterbacks. Every single pre-snap look looks exactly the same. So he littered his defense with versatile DBs that if you're a quarterback, you don't know if Trent McDuffie's playing nickel or safety this play. You don't know if Quentin Lake's at corner or safety. And that's going to cause a quarterback to hesitate. And now you add Myles Garrett to the picture, so you don't even have to cover that long. I do think it's a Super Bowl or bust situation.
I don't think there's any question about it. Now, I am not a hater, but I think I'm going to come across as one here when I talk about the Los Angeles Rams, because I do want to, I'm acknowledging, right? Like, they're the favorite. Yeah. They're the best team on paper, right? Who could argue otherwise? If I were to poke some holes in this team right now, and I'm curious what your response is going to be to this, I would look at the offensive side of the ball, and I would say, and maybe your counter will be, well, they'll just play three tight ends on the field. Terrence Ferguson's the third receiver, basically. They have no speed on offense, like none. Like, Puka is great. Devontae Adams is still great. None of them is, like, they don't have that burner on offense right now. Maybe they mitigate that, but just playing a million tight ends. I don't know. But I think that's a small issue for this team. And I also look at this offensive line. I don't think it's one of the best offensive lines in the league. I don't think they have a ton of depth on the offensive line. We'll see if Alaric Jackson gets out of legal trouble. I still have beef with the Ty Simpson pick, because why didn't you just pick Monroe Freeling or Mekhi Lemon there? Solve some of these problems here. So if I'm poking holes, I'm looking at line, and I'm looking at lack of speed on offense. For if you like another team in the NFC, that's what I would hold on to. What is your response to those critiques by me of the LA Rams?
First off, they are completely fair critiques, although if you're going to call yourself a hater, I will happily latch on to that. So Alaric Jackson is a massive issue, and he has to get his act together off the field. And even though he technically is not being charged on two of the three things, Goodell in the NFL can come down and suspend him at any moment. And quite honestly,
it is a multi-time offender, so so they may be more willing to do that in this instance. Yeah,
exactly. And from the unfortunate and disgusting things that have been alleged so far, they would be within their right. How this season falls apart is Alaric Jackson is suspended. Matthew Stafford, his blind side is weak, and at 38 years old, I mean, he is perpetually one hit away from having to call it a career. He's just been he's taken so many blows in Detroit in his old age. And that's how this falls apart. In regards to the speed thing, the beauty of Sean McVay is when Devontae Adams got hurt last year, they pivoted to the 13 personnel, which you hinted at, right? 1 running back, 3 tight ends. And they beefed up that tight end room and clearly have faith in it because they did not draft a Mekhi Lemon. They did not draft a Brendan Thompson. They did not go get a speedy guy as the wide receiver 3. And as of right now, since Tyreek Hill,
they took another tight end, right? They drafted another tight end in Max Clare.
They took historically slow tight end Max Clare from Ohio State. And I think what Sean McVay is doing is just trying to zig when everybody zags. And if you look at, we'll say, Bill Belichick when he was with New England, when people were pounding the rock, he spread it out with a bunch of 5'9" wide receivers. When people wanted to throw the ball, he brought everyone in, got Rob Gronkowski, and played a tight end game. Right? I think Sean McVay is just trying to zig where they zag. The speed would be concerning, but in his style of offense, in the wide zone that they run, he's trying to attack vertically with power, and that is something that will cause issues against the San Franciscos, the Seattles, really just the NFC West that can play that physical style of football. But it leans itself very well outside of the division for teams that are built for speed, and you have the bruising style of play that the Rams play. So you are completely fair to be concerned, but I do feel that Sean McVay, up to this point, has earned the right to say, I've been 2 steps ahead of everyone for about 5 years now. Just trust me with this tight end thing.
We'll go to the LA team, the Chargers, and the AFC in a moment here, but just one last on the Rams and the NFC. If not the Rams in the NFC, Brock, who are you taking and why?
Seattle Seahawks, and it's the boring pick, but Seattle is kind of in this weird place, similar to the Knicks, where even though they just won it...
now I'm a Knicks fan here, so now my antenna's up. Let's hear what you got here on this.
So you're going to be able to relate to this. The Knicks were somehow the underdog, even though they were on track to having one of the most historic playoff runs in NBA history since the 01 Lakers. And even as the clock was winding down, it's as if people refused to admit that the Knicks were going to win the NBA championship. And the second that the new season starts, the Knicks are an afterthought. That's kind of what the Seahawks are going through because people don't believe that Sam Darnold could be a Super Bowl winning quarterback. People don't want to believe that he actually has turned a new leaf. And yes, they lost Kenneth Walker III. Nick Emanwari and that defense that Mike McDonald has created is spectacular. If you want to go down a rabbit hole of freaks of nature, watch Nick Emanwari, who just wrapped up his rookie season and was a key component. And I would argue every single defense right now, the same way that offenses are trying to copy what Sean McVay is doing offensively, defenses are trying to copy what Mike McDonald is doing defensively. With Seattle, the problem is they don't have Nick Emanwari on their team. The guy can play every position. And I'm a firm believer that the champ is the champ until you knock them out coming out of the NFC. You didn't ask, but coming out of the AFC, I'm really high on the Houston Texans, and I expect a Houston
I might
Texans
pick them. I might pick them also.
You would be absolutely right. I as we sit here right now, I'm expecting the Houston Texans to come to LA and match up with the Rams in the Super Bowl here in a couple months.
I love the Texans this season. Love the Texans this season.
They're terrifying.
You know, let's go to You Better You Bet on this Tuesday. Brock Vereen from the Fan in LA here with us on You Better You Bet, Westwood One Sports. Let's talk about the Texans for a second now. I literally did like 8 to 11, whatever it was, or on the first hour of the show on Houston. I'm higher on Houston than a lot of people. I'm guessing you'll agree with this. I don't think the defense is going to take a step back this year. I think the players are too good, I think, for that to happen. It's just, can you get average to like slightly above average quarterback play from CJ Stroud? Can the offensive line can it be slightly below average instead of absolutely terrible? And I think at minimum they're playing on Championship Sunday. What do you think about CJ? We love this defense. What about the offense?
Yes. What happened last year mentally with CJ Stroud, only he can answer, but anybody can watch him on those really from week 11 onward and say, something is wrong between the ears here. And the fact that DeMeco Ryans had to punt the ball, I believe there were like 3.5 minutes left in that game in there when they got bounced.
The surrender punt against the Patriots. Yes. Yeah, just like you gave up.
The fact that they had to punt the ball because they thought it is more likely for our defense to get a pick six or a fumble recovery than for CJ Stroud to do anything. That has to be rock bottom. If you are CJ Stroud, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt saying that is the most embarrassing moment you have ever had probably in your entire football career going back to Pop Warner, and that is going to kick you in the butt to just not be terrible. Like you just said, CJ Stroud doesn't have to be incredible. He doesn't even have to be good. He just has to not be bad, and this team walks to the Super Bowl last year. I'm going to assume he is much better. They kind of retooled their offense a little bit. They have a new offensive line. They bring in David Montgomery. They're going to remove the ball from C.J. Stroud's hands. They're not going to rely on him. They're going to rely on a ground and pound game. But when asked and called upon, C.J. Stroud will be better because there's no way you can hit rock bottom and not hit this season on the right foot.
I just want to go back and just say I am kind of, sometimes people will come on the show and say things, and it makes me mad because it's so good that I wish I had come up with it first, and I didn't. The Knicks Seahawks comparison was we were talking about. It was inspired, and also you got to have like the Sixers with LeBron. They're kind of playing the role of the Rams now, also, which is that was. I just want to say that was exceptional. Right. It was really good. Well, let's talk about the Chargers for a second. A couple things on LA. A lot of people think, and I'm not disagreeing with it, right? I kind of think this is going to happen also, that Mike McDaniel is going to turn this offense into something supercharged, right? And I think the upgrade from Greg Roman to Mike McDaniel is going to be significant on offense for the Chargers. With Slater back and Alt back, the two tackles, do you see it that way for the Chargers offense this year, and why?
So Mike McDaniel is the genius regarding the run game. Forget everything that happened in Miami regarding the run game, but he reinvents ways to run the same run plays that you've seen been run your entire life. They are going to be a downhill football team. They are going to be physical as hell, and you will see gashes of 30 yards, 40 yards. They brought in Keaton Mitchell, who's kind of going to be their speedster. This run game is going to be phenomenal. The problem that the Chargers are going to run into is when it's 3rd and 8, I don't understand how they're going to convert. You look at how Mike McDonald orchestrates his pass game. Yes, a lot of it was because Tua doesn't have a strong arm, but it's about getting the ball to his guys quickly and essentially turning everything into a punt return, right? Dump the ball to Jalen Waddle, dump the ball to Tyreek Hill, and let them make a bunch of guys miss. It's not really downfield. And the Chargers do not have guys capable of doing that. Brennan Thompson is speedy, but he's a rookie. You're not going to build your offense around a rookie. Ladd McConkey is precise. He's crisp. He's not the level of speedster that Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are. Then you look at Justin Herbert, a massive mountain of a man that can throw the ball 80 yards. They're retooling his footwork. They're making his drop back different. They're really messing with him, and I just don't understand how what Herbert does and what Mike McDaniel wants to do in the pass game. It's water and oil, and something's got to give. So Mike McDaniel is big on 2.4s, meaning if a quarterback gets rid of the ball in 2.4 seconds, it doesn't matter how good the offensive line is. You think of Tom Brady in his best years, Drew Brees, they get rid of the ball quickly. That's not what Herbert does. So if you're trying to convince me that in one singular offseason, Justin Herbert is just going to become not even a different quarterback, but just a completely different player. Like he's been playing this way his entire life, and you're going to retool this. I have really strict doubts on how successful they're going to be in the air. Maybe they're able to get themselves in situations where they don't have to throw the ball deep a ton. I just don't understand how they're going to do it. And there is a lot of pressure on Herbert to figure it out, and there's a lot of pressure on Harbaugh to figure it out. I don't think anyone's job is on the line, but the problem with the AFC West last year is Patrick Mahomes gets hurt. The AFC West is wide open for the first time since Mahomes took over as a starting quarterback, and you let the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix come in here and state their claim. That's embarrassing, and the Chargers not only need to take care of the AFC West, they have to win a playoff game this year. Something's got to change.
And for as bad as C.J. Stroud was in the divisional round at Foxborough, Justin Herbert was just as bad in the wild card round Sunday night in Foxborough for the and he's played his 2 worst games, I think, of his career in the postseason. 2 years ago against Houston, and then this past January against the New England Patriots. Maybe this is the final. I'm not sure yet, but I have one more question on the Chargers. So we collectively in the media, right, spend a lot of time talking about offensive coordinator Mike McDaniel. We all know who he is. Offense is sexy, fantasy football, all that jazz. We're going to have to start, this is not just a youth, this is like a me thing, right, on this show. Have to start talking about, because I talked about the Ravens earlier in the show, right, Brock, and I love Baltimore this year. I think Jesse Minter is going to turn this defense into something really special. Yep. He was the Chargers defensive coordinator the last couple seasons. So now he's the head coach in Baltimore. Someone, and this is not the former Georgia Tech coach, Chris O'Leary is now the defensive coordinator of the Chargers. Now, is it possible Chris O'Leary is the next Bill Belichick? Of course it's possible. We have no idea how this is going to go with O'Leary replacing Jesse Minter. What about Chris O'Leary? Because everyone's talking about McDaniel. What about the new defensive coordinator, Chris O'Leary, for the Chargers?
It has to be a home run. You're sitting there thinking, why the hell is Jim Harbaugh throwing this pitch when he could land any available defensive coordinator? He could probably go poach a different defensive coordinator and just pay him more. Why the hell is Chris O'Leary? And the honest question is, we don't know until we see it. I will say, as far as personnel-wise, the Chargers always have stars, so they always rank in the top 5 of defense. Well, not always, but under Jesse Minter, they did. I see a situation where they're on the field less this year because Mike McDaniel's run game is going to be so dominant. They're going to control the clock more instead of trying to outscore teams, which is where they got in trouble. Khalil Mack is old and is not the threat that he once was. Tuli Pelotu is a future star, and that is now the key guy that you have to worry about on the defensive front. You have an undersized linebacker room who have ton of heart, ton of grit, but they're just not going to be premier linebackers. They're Deion Henley, I believe, is 6 foot. Denzel Perryman is 5'11", and they can make plays, but they do get taken advantage of a little bit, especially toward the end of the year. You have Derwin James, who they made the highest paid safety for the second time in his career. And Derwin James is, if we're going with basketball references, he's kind of like a Paul George. He is so respected. Any college player right now puts on Derwin James tape and studies him. They borderline worship him and his ability. He's kind of the face of being able to play free safety, strong safety, box safety, and nickel. But what on his resume explains how good he is, right? Similar to Paul George. Anyone who plays in the NBA that talks about Paul George puts him up there with the best and fundamentally and from a technique standpoint among the best. But if you were to explain that to a casual basketball fan, they're looking at his resume saying, how is this guy this good, right? So the Chargers are a defense that are loaded with talents but have not had a ton to show for it lately. And to answer your question, Chris O'Leary has a lot to prove in regards of what can you accomplish that Jesse Minter didn't, because it's almost like a Ty Simpson situation. We're scratching our heads saying, I trust that you did your research, but until I see it, I'm going to have my doubts.
Final question, about a minute for the answer. The 2026 26-27 Los Angeles Lakers are the blank best team in the Western Conference.
Third best team in the Western Conference. Oklahoma City and San Antonio. Oklahoma City and San Antonio are in their own category. The Lakers are in that second tier where it's them, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, and the Rockets. And I am not a believer in the
7-game
Timberwolves.
series, Wolves-Lakers. Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Lakers. The Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be exciting. That thing is going to implode in ways that you cannot even fathom. It will be hilarious, but that team will fall apart. I promise you.
I don't know if I agree with that. So why do you like them so? Because I think they'll be I'm not saying they'll miss the playoffs. Just like a Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, Walker Kessler team, and this is assuming everybody's healthy.
True.
They're not even sniffing a championship, and they're locked into this now for years.
They're not winning a championship this year, but what they have for the first time since 2018 is a direction. When they brought in LeBron James and Anthony Davis, since then, from that year up until this last season, they never had structure. JJ Redick was not able to run his offense. For the first time, you have Luka Doncic and a clear path of what everyone's role is. When LeBron was on the court and trying to run the show as a partial GM, it was what he wanted. Now you finally get to build a structure. It's still around a player in Luka Doncic, but you get to build a structure and a strategy and find players to fit that instead of trying to appease LeBron James.
I don't know if behind door number 1 is LeBron and Anthony Davis like 8 years ago, or here's door number 2 with Luka, Austin Reeves, Walker Kessler, and the Snow Time Lakers. I'll go door number 1. That's just me. Brock,
you take
you're
door
stud,
number
dude.
1. I will check in with you in early next year when the Lakers are the third best team in the West and they get bounced out in the second round, and we'll be happy about it. We're going to love every second of it.
Yeah, but it's going to get wiped off the face of the earth by the Spurs or the Thunder or perhaps the Denver Nuggets or perhaps the Minnesota Timberwolves. Dude, you're awesome. I really enjoyed this. Brock and Alex,
Anytime,
middays,
man.
10 a.m. Well, don't say that because we'll call you next week. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time. The Fan in Los Angeles. Big Ten Network. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Brock Farine joining us here on the show. He's stud, man. The station's cooking. Our friend Andrew Williams doing a great job with the Fan in Los Angeles. Brock and Alex Curry, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Pacific time, middays on the Fan in Los Angeles. Well, another interview that went over time. Seems to be my favorite thing. I'm self-diagnosing. We'll take a break. Coming up next, more Major League Baseball as we head to the deadline, what I think the Phillies need to do, what the Brewers need to do, and why the Dodgers are watching Detroit, Michigan very intently. We'll do some NBA and a little Bill Belichick as well in the final 35 minutes here on a Tuesday on Westwood One Sports.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Good song. I'm married. I can't relate to what Jay-Z sang. Our bets for tonight will close the show. Looking forward to that. Coming up about 20 minutes from now. But a bunch to do until then. Major League Baseball trade deadline, 6 days away. And you know, the Los Angeles Dodgers and other teams were watching last night's Detroit Tigers game, as the Tigers lost yet again. Now losers of 3 in a row, losing 8-5 to the Baltimore Orioles. Now 7 games under 500 with the trade deadline 6 days away. Now, is it possible that the Tigers have a couple games left against the Orioles and then a 3-game set against the Athletics? Is it possible that they rattle off 5 wins in a row? Sure. Doesn't feel likely, though. And even if they do, are the Tigers really going to delude themselves into believing that they are true, legitimate contenders in the American League? So if the Tigers continue, and remember, this isn't me giving you this opinion. Not that I'm not credible to do that. But look, we had Jim Bowden on the show last week. Sirius XM MLB Network Radio, CBS Sports HQ, The Athletic, former MLB Executive of the Year in 1999 when he ran the Cincinnati Reds. He said last week on the show that the Tigers are going to see how this goes over the next week and a half, and if they feel like they could possibly be in contention, that they're going to keep Tarek Skubal. That's not what's happening. If I had to guess right now, and who knows, right? Because the Tigers don't seem to be an incredibly well-run organization, so who knows? My guess is they're going to deal him. I would if I were them. You can't risk losing him, and you will get an absolute haul if you deal him. You know the Dodgers are watching with their insane farm system. The Dodgers could trade for Skubal. They could extend him. They could give him that contract. They have that kind of money. So if that happens, and I would say that if I were setting a betting market, that would be the favorite for me, is the Dodgers acquire Tarek Skubal. It obviously makes them an even bigger favorite to go back to the World Series for the 3rd straight year and try to win 3 straight for the first time since my Yankees did it 98, 99, and 2000. Does that mean, if they get Skubal, that the rest of the National League should just pack it in and say, you know what, we're good. Dodgers got it this year. We'll live to fight another day. Of course not. Let's talk about 2 teams in the National League. The first will be the Milwaukee Brewers, fronted by absolute all-world megastar young pitcher Jacob Misiorowski, who is just 24 years old. And just anecdotal, right? This weekend, I fly to Florida with my wife and my daughter for a family baptism. And I'm with a couple guys that are the family, friends, whatever. Big sports fans. Big sports fans, right? They're talking to me about Jacob Misiorowski. They love baseball. Jacob Misiorowski is not a crossover athlete yet in the sense that you'd hear a non-big baseball fan talk about him. But if you're a baseball fan, this guy is front and center in front of mind. Huge favorite to win NL Cy Young, -275 at BetMGM. Struck out 11 of the first 12 batters in his last start over the weekend. Struck out the first 7 batters of the game. Became the first pitcher since 1920 to strike out 11 batters or more for the first 4 innings of a game with 0 hits allowed. He's historic. He's unbelievable. Now, the Brewers have been clutch hitting all season. The Brewers have a great manager in Pat Murphy. They've got Misiorowski, obviously. The Brewers are a really good team. They need some bop. They need another bat. And if I'm Milwaukee right now, and you're any team, this goes for the AL also, and you fancy yourself a World Series contender. If you feel like the Dodgers can really get Tarek Skubal, you got to do something. You have to do something. I want to see Milwaukee go out and get a bat. Need some power heading into the postseason. The other team would be the Philadelphia Phillies. The Phillies, I think, absolutely have everything needed to topple the Dodgers and maybe even win the World Series this year. I've talked a lot about how I like the decision to move on for Rob Thompson, try something new. Of course, they tug at my heartstrings by making former Yankee Don Mattingly's the manager now. So I have a soft spot for the Phillies. The Phillies, frontline 3 pitchers, right? With Sanchez and Wheeler and Luzardo. They've been unbelievable this year, right? And obviously they've got studs in the lineup as well. They've got to do something, though. Like, you can't go to war against the Dodgers, especially if they get Scooble with this. I want to see the Phillies get aggressive. I want to see the Brewers get aggressive in the National League. And just to go back to the AL and my Yankees. So Cody Bellinger over the weekend, and to be fair, the Yankees did take 2 or 3 against the Phillies this weekend. You got a Cam Schlittler masterclass on Friday night. He was tremendous, beat the Phils 1-0. Max Fried's back. He doesn't look great, but it's nice to have him back in the lineup. They win last night. Cody Bellinger, left hamstring strain, out 4 to 6 weeks. It's not what you want. But look, Bellinger, All-Star Game MVP. You can't mess around with the hammy, because if you re-aggravate it, like, you're done for the season. And they need him for October, right? So he's out 4 to 6 weeks. We still don't know when Judge is coming back. Stanton's been out. What a surprise that he's been out injured for a long time. When's he coming back? The Yankees cannot afford to stand pat. I don't think they're going to. We've heard Mason Miller rumored, right? The great Padres closer, the best reliever in baseball. Do the Yankees make a play for him to pair with Bednar? And Miller would obviously be the main closer, but Bednar would be like your 8th inning guy. How good is that? I certainly like that. I don't know if you're Brian Cashman and you're Aaron Boone and you're the Yankees, if you can just count on it. Count on everyone's back and everybody's healthy. Now, I don't think the Yankees are winning the World Series no matter what. I'm on record saying that for years, as long as Cashman and Boone are in charge. But, like, if you were going to construct a scenario, like, here's how it happens. You need all 3 of those guys healthy, right? You need Bellinger healthy, you need Stanton healthy, and of course you need the best player in the American League. You need Aaron Judge healthy also. Is that going to happen? I don't know if you can bank on it. You can bank on that happening. Ergo, you have to bring in a bat. Yankees, Phillies, Brewers absolutely have got to be aggressive over the course of the next 6 days because, again, it's my expectation that the rich will get richer. And I believe that when it's all said and done, things can change, but my belief right now is that the Los Angeles Dodgers will emerge as the winners of the Tarek Skubal sweepstakes. You bet on this Tuesday. Nick Kostos and you, Westwood One Sports. A couple other takes for you before we give you our bets and bid you adieu on this Tuesday. Numero uno. There is an NBA superstar that needs to demand a trade. He won't. I don't think it will happen. We had Zach Harper from The Athletic and NBA Radio on the show yesterday, and he doesn't think it'll happen either. And if you ask NBA fans, members of the NBA media, and this is not me making the case that they're wrong, I think they're right, that this won't happen. What I'm saying is, I believe it should. Steph Curry needs to demand a trade from the Golden State Warriors. He should ask out yesterday from Golden State. Now, I don't think he will. I do think whether it means something to me or not is immaterial. He's his own man. He's his own person. He can do what he wants, right? All accounts say that Steph Curry wants to play his entire career with one team. Start and finish his career with the Golden State Warriors. And I guess there's like something admirable about that. I don't think there is. And you can say, well, you're not loyal. Okay, here's my question for you then, moron. I love you. Thank you for listening and watching. Do you think the Golden State Warriors have done enough for Steph Curry here in the twilight of his career? And really, and I understand they won a title in 22 because of him, have they done enough since they lost to the Raptors in the 19 NBA Finals? Have they? And be honest, have they? They've been doing this like Marvel Universe, like 2 timeline sort of deal. Like there's today and then there's like the multiverse. Like with Kang and Doctor Doom and Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. This offseason, by all reports, I'm not involved in these conversations. I just go by what I like. Bill Simmons on The Ringer is really plugged in. He talked about it over the weekend. That the Warriors didn't make a good enough offer for Jaylen Brown. And think about it, right? They wanted LeBron. What pushed LeBron to go to Philadelphia was the thing that got him over the line there. Jaylen Brown. What happens if the Warriors trade for Jaylen Brown? Does LeBron go there? Probably yes, right? What's the % chance the Golden State Warriors win the NBA title this season? And if you took that percent chance and multiplied it by 1,000,000, what would it be? The answer, 0. 0. What's the chance they win it next year? Take the chance. Multiply it by 1,000,000. Shine it up real nice. Turn that son of a bitch sideways and stick it straight up you know where. 0. 0. Why should 38-year-old Steph Curry languish for the final couple years of his career? Languish as the 9 seed in the West, or maybe they're the 6 seed and get bounced in the first round. Why should that be what happened? Loyalty? Why? Just because he's been there his whole career? Really? You think this is not Milwaukee? Giannis won 1 title in Milwaukee. You think the Bay Area will ever dislike Steph Curry? MVPs, 4 championships? Stop. Come on. He resuscitated that. That franchise was not dead, but it was on life support before Curry brought them out of it, out of the abyss. Why should he finish his career in Golden State? Other than loyalty. Why should he? Now, I'm not him. He can do what he wants. He's earned that right. He's his own man. He's an all-time great. He's an absolute living legend. If it were me, and you can criticize me for this, and I don't care. If it were me, I'd want to win 1 more championship. That's just me. He can do whatever he wants. So, too, can our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman, who joins now with the trivia question of the day. Hello, Bill. How are you?
I am good, Nick. How are you?
I'm pretty awesome. Thank you.
I would hope so. Been an awesome show. All right, let's dive into the trivia here. Carrington Harrison got me thinking about this one when he brought up the statistic earlier in the show that the Kansas City Chiefs have not had a 1,000 rusher since 2017, going on almost a decade. So I had to go back and look at that a little bit. So, Nick, the question to you, Kansas City Chiefs have had 6 different 1,000-yard rushers since 1990. I want you to name them all.
Okay. Well, so what was the question going to be before that? Just out of curiosity. Topic.
We were working on a New England Patriots theme, and I jumped off of it to move over to this.
Okay, this is a good question. Okay, ready?
Yeah, some of these you'll get easily.
The Nigerian Nightmare.
Christian Okoye did it twice. Yep.
Barry, oh my word.
That was the one I thought might trick you up. Barry Word did it once in 1990.
Priest Holmes.
Priest Holmes did it 3 times.
Larry Johnson.
Twice.
Kareem Hunt.
Kareem Hunt did it once.
And Ray's nephew, Jamal.
Jamal Charles 5 times. That is the list.
So Barry Word is the one you didn't think I would get.
I thought you might get tripped up on Barry Word a little bit.
Well, to be fair, I did forget Chris Warren last week, so I can't call you ye of little faith. So, yeah. So Barry Word somehow.
You destroyed that question. Well done.
Yeah, listen, to be fair, Charles, Larry Johnson, and Priest Holmes were all like fantasy football monsters, like unlikely to be forgotten by people. And then it's just, we knew Kareem Hunt because Carrington had mentioned him, and then it's just, do you remember the 1-2 punch from the 90s?
Fair.
Here's a trivia question for you. You're going to get this right. You're the only person on the crew that will get this question right. But I would be shocked if you got this wrong.
All right, let's see.
You may be able to answer the question before I'm done with it. Famous Monday Night Football game in the maybe 1989. Christian Okoye. It's a famous play. Christian Okoye. Steve Atwater of the Denver Broncos. I knew you'd get it right before I even asked the question. So Steve Atwater absolutely blew up Christian Okoye and knocked him backwards in a famous Monday night play when Okoye was at the height of his powers. Second trivia question for you. You probably won't get this one. That same season, I think it was Greg Bell, maybe. Was he on the Rams? I don't know who the Broncos running back was. Steve Sewell, maybe? I'm going to give away the team. The Giants had a goal line stand in Denver in 1989. On a 4th down play, a Giant defender stuffed the Broncos running back, and they lost a couple yards on a famous 4th and 1. Famous play for the Giants, at least. Name the Giants defensive player.
I don't remember this play. I'll go with Jim Burt.
The answer is Gary Reasons. So another white Giants defensive player. We'll take a break. On the other side, our bets will wrap it up here on Tuesday on Westwood One Sports.
The NBA.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Today, BetMGM players will receive an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. To use the Parlay Boost token, add a parlay wager to your bet slip and activate the token. If you win the wager made with the token, you'll receive extra winnings. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Thanks to our guests, Brock Farine, and who was the first guest? Carrington Harrison. Thanks to our crew. Appreciate everybody. We are back tomorrow on a wonderful Sports Wednesday. We do have a piece of breaking news to discuss, and then I'm just going to tell everybody I'm betting the Orioles again today. I'm back on like the baseball betting train now that we're approaching the deadline and the end of the season. I'm just going to fade the Detroit Tigers, who are favorites today, and I understand they have the pitching advantage here, Melton against Kramer. I will bet the Orioles today on the road in Detroit. I think the Tigers will lose again. My one bet for tonight. The piece of breaking news that we have in the National Football League, and this is courtesy, I'm just going to pull it up here, make sure I have this right, per Greg Auman, who covers the NFL for Fox Sports and has been in the Tampa area for a long time. He says that Baker Mayfield, who is on the final year of a 3-year, $100 million deal, that Baker Mayfield will play this season on his current expiring contract. Jeremy Fowler reported earlier this morning of ESPN that Mayfield and the Bucs have not made significant progress on a new contract. So for Tampa now, you have kind of a lame duck-ish coach in Todd Bowles, where I think we can all agree if it doesn't go well this year for Tampa, Bowles is out. I think we can all say that, right? Whether you agree or disagree with it, that's going to be what happens. And now you have a lame duck quarterback, and that doesn't mean Baker's going to be bad. I'm just saying, though, right? You also have Vita Vea, like longtime stalwart, absolute monster defensive tackle, demanding a trade out of Tampa. No more guaranteed money for him. He's 31 years old. So a couple things happening all in concert here in Tampa. Now, if you just take the talent on the field, I think it's probable that the Bucs are the best team in the division, just based on talent 1 through 53. But there's a lot going on here. And I don't know if a lot of it's positive. Now, you could spin this and say Baker's going to have the best year of his career. He's motivated. He wants that big payday. Maybe. I'm more willing to say the wheels come off. Todd Bowles gets fired. Bucs are looking for a new quarterback. And we have either the Falcons, Saints, or Panthers as NFC South champions this season. That does it for the show. I'll see you all tomorrow on a Wednesday. Until then, Nick Kostos wishing you minimal sweats, winning bets, the absolute very best of luck. Bleck and Abdallah coming up next on Westwood One Sports.